Gary here from RCstreetwars and GK Systems Engineering. Today is going to be a big one. All right, welcome to the next round of our RC battery dyno shootout, and we have a serious competition today. We are doing drag racing batteries, the Pinky tuned 7,000 milliamp 2S drag pack. This is a premium battery, premium performance, premium price. But can the RCbattery.com Liperior drag battery come in? This is a budget battery at a budget price. Does it have premium performance? We're going to find out, because we're going to put them head to head the next round of this dyno shootout. We're going to take these two batteries and we are just going to abuse them on the dyno, see which one comes out on top. Stick around, because this is going to be a good one. All right, well, what's the famous saying? But wait, there's more. You know, I couldn't just do a video with a 7,000 Pinky versus an 8,000 Liperior. Brand new in the box, Pinky 8,000 2S drag pack. We're going to add it to the mix, take it out of the box. Let's get going. Hey everyone, I want to give a really quick shout out to Bobby from the G3 RC Raceway here down in North Carolina. Bobby, where are you guys out of exactly?
Cherryville.
Cherryville. And I want you guys, if you're into off-road racing, go by, see the track. They run an amazing track. They build off-road cars. They service off-road cars. How many times a month do you guys hold a race over there?
Once a month.
Once a month they hold a race. And
First Saturday in each month.
First Saturday in each month. And we're going to see Gary Fletcher. He can build you a car. He can tune your car. He can repair the car. These guys are amazing. And Bobby has brought me his new Pinky battery to test today, and he's been keeping us honest, watching everything we're doing. So thank you very much, Bobby. Bobby, you ready to see what this does on the dyno?
I am ready.
All right, here we go, right to the dyno. Okay, here we are with the RCbattery.com Liperior 8,000, and it's coming in about 448, let's call it 450 grams. I think pretty average for this battery. And you can see that our Pinky battery is coming in at 407, so let's call it 408, maybe 410 grams average. So for sure it's a lighter battery, but it should be lighter. All right, here we are with the Pinky battery, and the first hit is coming in at 0.93, 0.87. Good start for the Pinky battery. Let's refresh it. 0.95, 0.85. Again, good start for the Pinky 7,000 milliamp battery. All right, everybody, we're back and we're with the RCbattery.com Liperior drag pack. This is the 8,000 milliamp. And wow, right off the rip, I don't know if you guys can see that clearly, but 0.74, 0.62. And this is also in storage mode, just sitting here at room temperature. 3.806 volts. Matter of fact, this has kind of been sitting out for a little bit longer, and it's coming in at 22 degrees. It's a little bit colder. If you notice, we had the Pinky at 24 degrees Celsius. I'm going to maybe try to warm this up to 24.5 like I had the Pinky, but for 22 degrees Celsius, 7.4. It's a little cold in the garage today. That's looking really good. Let's refresh it. 7460 on the refresh. So I'm pretty confident in that. That's looking really good. All right, everyone, here we go. Pinky battery on the dyno. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, everyone, let's see what we have here. All right. Mile per hour, 69.66 miles per hour. Remember, this is a fixed FDR of 2-to-1 with a 100mm wheel. We have 11.5 inch-pounds of torque, 2.17 horsepower, really good horsepower. Watts is 2,696 watts, and amps are 427 amps. Really good amps on that one. Our starting voltage, as soon as we hit it, dropped down to 8.67. And the lowest voltage on the run recorded was a 6.131 with an average of 7.0 volts. So this is really, really similar to what we see on a high power drag car. These voltage numbers are pretty consistent with what we see, so I feel really confident in this. So here's our power factor profile. We got to our peak amps of 427 peak amps in 0.484 seconds. Maybe a little bit slower than some of our averages that we've seen with other batteries, but nonetheless, really good. Our voltage per cell at peak amps was 3.102. Half a second into the run, another 427 amps, which this is a really good sign. We hardly ever see the half second in holding the same as peak. So 3.130 volts per cell, again matching our peak, really good. 1 second into the run, 324 amps, 3.366 volts. 2 seconds into the run, 208 amps, 3.559 volts per cell. And 3 seconds into the run, 171 amps at 3.618 volts. So I think really, really good looking profile on this. I think we're going to go back and calculate what these amps are in relationship to the milliamp hour and the stated C rating, and finish it up in the summary of what it really put out in terms of C rating. But everything else is pretty much as expected, what we normally see for this battery, a low of about 6 and an average of about 7. So really happy with the performance of this battery. All right, everyone, we have the RCbattery.com Liperior 8000 drag battery on the dyno. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. And the numbers are... Okay, for mile per hour. Remember, this is a fixed FDR with a 100 millimeter wheel. 73.62 miles an hour. We made 13.03 inch-pounds of torque, 2.60 horsepower. It's really good horsepower. Our watts are 2,960 watts. Our peak amps was 459. Again, we're going to go back in the summary and see how this compares to the stated C rating. Our power factor profile, the battery held really good on the initial hit at 8.4 volts, 4.02 volts per cell. Similar to what we see with most drag batteries, we're getting down to 6.19, 6.2 volts at 3.097 volts per cell. Average 7.18, so also averaging 7.1, similar to the Pinky. So let's look at our power factor profile here. You see a little bit quicker than the Pinky to peak amp at a 3.91, 459 amps, 3.168 volts per cell. At a half a second into the run, dropping the amps a little bit to 445, 3.267 volts per cell. 1 second into the run, 315 amps, 3.480 volts per cell. 2 seconds into the run, 205 amps, 3.657 volts per cell. And 3 seconds into the run, 170 amps at 3.711 volts per cell. Well, I'm going to say, I think budget battery, budget price, but it does seem to be delivering premium performance. Let's look at the data. I'm going to review it and we'll talk about it in the summary. All right, everyone. Again, I want to thank Mr. Bobby from G3RC Raceway for bringing us his brand new 8,000 milliamp Pinky and for watching us and making sure we're staying honest. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. Let's go check out its resistance, get it charged, and put it on the dyno. All right, here we go. Pinky 8000, room temperature, storage charge, and the numbers are, all right, well, better than our 7,000. So we're at 0.74, 0.62, 0.71, 0.68. So on the refresh, I'm really happy with that. I'm going to call it around the 0.7 average. Really good start for the Pinky 8000. All right, and we're fully charged, 4.20, 4.20. And let's take it off the charger, go straight to the dyno and see how she does. All right, everyone, the moment of truth. We got the new V2 8000 Pinky battery on the dyno. We have our Liperior 8000 right here. Can twice the price, 6-gauge wire, beat half the price, 8-gauge wire. We're going to find out right now. And here we go. Well, really, really good numbers, everyone. Let's look at what we got. We got 78.88 miles per hour, 2.63 horsepower, 2856 watts, 430 amps. Our power factor profile, we hit peak amps of 430 in 0.531 seconds, holding 3.308 volts per cell. A half a second into the run, also holding really close to the peak amps at 426. 3.290 volts per cell, 1 second into the run. 332 amps, 3.516 volts per cell. 2 seconds into the run, 215 amps. 3.697 volts per cell, and then 3 seconds into the run, 178 amps, 3.751 volts per cell. Really, really good numbers. Let's refresh our memory, see how it compared to the Liperior. Let's take a look at these numbers. We got 2.63 horsepower, 430 amps, 2856 watts, 2.63, 2856, 430. Let's pull up the Liperior and see how it did. Refresh our memory, and here we go. Wow, guys, so close. Look at this. 2.60 horsepower, 2900 watts, 459 amps. Wow, everyone, that is pretty amazing. I think these batteries are neck and neck, dead even. Well, let me take a minute, read through these again, refresh my memory, and let's do a final summary. Wow, everybody, that was amazing. I got to tell you, some of the numbers were really close. I had to spend some time to review them, write it down, do some calculations, more math than I wanted to do for a simple battery test, but it was worth it to give you guys the honest answers. So with that being said, I'm going to summarize really quick what I found, and then I'll kind of dive into the details. I'm going to start off with the 7K. The Pinky 7K at $129.99, I don't think is worth the buy. All right. It's a few grams lighter than the 8K and down on power everywhere. It just, the percent loss versus the weight savings is not a value. So my recommendation is to stay away from the 7K. That is not a battery I think has any value for anyone in RC. All right. The power's down and the weight isn't that significant. That being said, it brings us to the two 8K batteries. We have the Pinky 8K and the Liperior 8K. The Liperior 8K is coming in at $54.99. So it's $55. The Pinky 8K is coming in at $129.99. So $130. All right. And you guys can see from the testing, they were really close. All right. With that being said, let me read off the numbers. All right. Because I want to make sure I get it right. So we saw the Liperior battery make a peak horsepower of 2.60 horsepower versus the Pinky 8000 at 2.63. That is a difference of 1.1%. What's now interesting is the Liperior battery made 13.03 inch-pounds of torque versus the 12.29 inch-pounds of the Pinky, for a difference of 6%. Pretty substantial. Then the Liperior battery made 2,960 watts versus 2,856 watts for the Pinky, for a difference of 3.6%. Finally, you have peak amps, 459 amps for the Liperior and 430 amps for the Pinky, for a difference of 6.8%. So with the exception of the 3/100ths of a horsepower gain, which goes to the Pinky, the Liperior beat it in torque, watts, and amps by a substantial amount. We got 6%, 3.6%, 6.8% versus the 1% horsepower. So I really need to give this win to the Liperior. And if you look at it, if you looked at the graphs, it just had more power across the board. What was really interesting, and I pointed this out in the video, is the torque drop on the Pinky on the initial hit versus the Liperior is very strong. You can see it's very strong. The battery voltage stays pretty consistent. Of course, it's going to have a drop and then it recovers, but the torque just stays really strong. And that's what we illustrated in the video with the arrows pointing here. And I think ultimately that's going to give you the better performance. Now, I want to point out, because everything's apples to apples, when we test the batteries, they're tested as they come out of the box. It means the wires are the same length as they come out of the box. It's the same connector, the same test conditions, everything, because it needs to be fair. Absolutely. That being said, I did go back afterwards and I shortened the leads on both batteries. What was interesting is I didn't see a gain on the Pinky, shortening the leads, but I did see a gain on Liperior, and it sort of makes sense because one has 8-gauge wire, the other has 6-gauge wire. The 8-gauge wire at full length, it's just, it's at a disadvantage, the 6-gauge. Surprisingly, we didn't see it in terms of what happened here. Both batteries performed really well. Matter of fact, the 8-gauge wire, for all intents and purposes, I would say outperformed the 6-gauge. But remember, we're just here to report the news, show you what is actually happening so you can make the decision. But I am going to stress this, because I see this all the time where we're just jumping from one to the other. And I want to put this out there for everybody. Just be mindful that we need to always have relationships and maintain those relationships. And the people that are taking care of you, I would stick with them. And but of course, if you're new and you want to make a decision, I personally think it's hard to tell someone to buy one over the other on day one at this price difference. But that's for you guys to decide. I really love to hear in the comments what you guys think, what you think about how the test went out. Did it surprise you? Did it surprise anyone? All right. I really want to thank Mr. Bobby from the G3 RC Raceway. He purchased the batteries. He stayed here. He watched the whole test procedure. I really wanted that. I wanted him to audit what we were doing, just to make sure that I can look at everyone in the eye and say, hey, you know what? We're running these tests fair, and we would invite anyone here at any time to watch what we're doing and audit the work that we're doing. So we have nothing to hide. We just want to bring you the results, unfiltered, unedited. That's why you see we make the run, we pan it right over the screen. We don't cut that or break that at all. Whatever the results are, we display them. We're sharing it with you guys. So we want you to be able to have the best experience in RC. Have fun, and let's go fast, everyone. See you on the next one.